Hello and welcome to the curriculum preview for the third 6 weeks for English 2. The focus this 6 weeks is on persuasion. You're going to read persuasive text coupled with literary nonfiction. You're going to write a persuasive essay and of course always focus on an OER. Things to consider this 6 weeks are, we always start with the standards. So let's look at what the standards require. Strand 6, which is the strand on literary nonfiction, says that we need to understand, make inferences, and draw conclusions about the varied structural patterns and features of literary nonfiction and respond by providing evidence from text. That also supports our OER with our response by providing evidence in text. But notice the varied structural patterns. They really want us to look at how the text can be formatted and built and what it does to the reader. 10A, it has us explain shifts in arguments about the same topic and evaluate the accuracy of the evidence used. That means we have to read multiple pieces about the same topic and then evaluate how their arguments are formed, and then evaluate the accuracy of the evidence that the authors are using. Is it valid or is it invalid, and how on point is it? Standard 10B, analyze contemporary political debates for rhetorical and logical fallacies. If you look closely at that standard, there's specific fallacies noted. Our students have a little bit of experience with logical fallacies, but I don't think they've ever been introduced to rhetorical fallacies, so this will be new learning for them. Then, of course, the persuasive essay and the OER. Then we have 18 BII quotation marks to indicate sarcasm or irony. Also note this is a good time to review all the different ways quotation marks are used and punctuated, as this is usually a tested standard, but it's not about sarcasm or irony, it's just quotation marks. And then 17 AI, active and passive voice. It's also important to note that our Figure 19 skills overlay with each of these individual standards. 52% of the 2016 spring EOC was Figure 19. So what that tells us is that skills cannot be taught in isolation from the metacognitive processes. With everything we do, students have to infer, draw conclusions, and provide evidence. So let's look at how these standards were tested on this year's STAR. While we're looking at strand 6 in this 6 weeks, I think it's important to see how the different standards could be tested. So 6A is what was tested on this year's STAR. And you can see in this question it says in paragraph 8, the author uses glass as a metaphor to show her what? So students have to know what a metaphor is, they have to be able to pick it out, and then say what is the purpose of it and what is the meaning of it. Another 6A question is about an author's attitude. In paragraph 4, the author's attitude about being near wildlife is totally an inference question. They have to be able to pick up on the cues to pick up what the attitude means. Another 6A question has to do with the purpose of how information is included. In paragraph 1, the author details the history of the Pacific Crest Trail, 2, and then they have to explain why. So why would this author include these details? So that goes back to the patterns and structure of text. It's really an author's craft question about why would the author want to do this. Strand 10 is our persuasive strand, and it was tested as a coupled with a Figure 19. And you can see in paragraphs 6 and 7, the author makes generalizations to suggest that texting does these things. Our students should know what generalizations are, but notice it doesn't say identify a generalization or make a generalization. They have to go back to the text, they have to pick out the generalizations, and then they have to say, now these generalizations show that. That's a multiple step inferential question, and it's a hard one. Here's another 10. In paragraph 3, the author presents a concept. In the next paragraph, the author does what? And notice it talks a little bit about a fallacy here. It shows how the concept is flawed, provides reasons why people are skeptical of the concept, shows how similar the concept is to other concepts, provides an example that supports the concept. This also points to our patterns of persuasion. What pattern does this fit, and how does it work? 12 is our media literacy strand, and while that is not one that is taught in the 6 weeks, it's a strand that we don't do very well on, so I think it's one we need to think about. And this one says, what does the photograph of the retail space emphasize? I think with our persuasion, we have a great opportunity to bring in some media literacy with some pictures and some things where we can ask, what do these photographs do? And that will help us on our assessment as well. So some resources for you to help with this 6 weeks. Always there's close reading. You use your text-dependent questions to dig deeper into the text or into a paired text, because remember, with our persuasive standard 10A, we have to have at least some paired text. In your text-dependent questions book, Appendix 2, 4, and 6 have lessons created for close reading of text. Text and Lessons for the Content Areas by Smokey Daniels and Nancy Steinke also has text sets already created for you, so you might find some options there. And then this is a great review for quotation marks. 10 things to know about quotation marks. It's a good mini lesson that you could go through with your kiddos to review and also emphasize that sarcasm and irony. The Texas Gateway is a great opportunity for our students to get state-created Texas-specific resources. It's free, and I've put your links here for Analyze an Argument, Analyze Shifts in Perspective, to differentiate among evidence, so to look at what's good evidence, and then also Hyperbole and Understatement, and Active and Passive Voice. There's also a huge section on the persuasive essay, which includes appeals, counter-arguments, and revising for the persuasive essay, so I would encourage you to check those out for your students. These are lessons that you could do whole class, you could do small group, you could even assign independently by person. They have a PowerPoint, and they have resources, and some have practice too, so they're very strong. As always, I'm here to support you. Just let me know what you need. Have a great day.